IMF 副总裁大卫利普顿就 G20 会议结果、人民币汇率等问题也接受了第一财经的专访。
Shall we start from the G20 meeting? Are you satisfied with the outcome of this time of a ministerial meeting? And in terms of the growth and in terms of the exchange rate, maybe macroprudential, this kind of the policy coordinations among the major currencies and major countries in this world?
Yeah, this was a good G20 meeting. We from the IMF came to say to the ministers and governors that the recovery was underway, but that the risks were significant and that there was some chance of a derailed recovery, and it was something that ministers and governors should consider, and we urged them to be bold in thinking about how to respond to this and to prepare policies that cut across a broad spectrum of policies to continue with monetary policy support where that's been necessary, to add demand where that's needed, to pursue structural reforms.
Actually, PBOC tries to have the exchange rate reform in the first place, but during the process they are doing this, there are kind of depreciation pressure for the currency. There's a need to stabilize the currency, and during this process, we see the outflow of the capital. So everything is intertwined and not easy to handle. What is the suggestion of the fund?
So I think the authorities have been very clear about their situation. Now, you asked about our advice. Our advice is that China should do all it can to build sustained balanced growth, and that by pursuing reform, pursuing rebalancing and support for the growth of household income, the growth of household spending, there'll be a new growth model. And in that setting, the markets will get comfortable with what they'll start to understand China's future, and that China's future is a bright future, and then the market volatility will calm down.
Yeah. Then we talk a little bit on the financial reform issue, and now the China's government is going to kind of reshuffle the financial regulatory framework in China, including PBOC, CBRC, CSRC, and CARC. And according to the global experiences and according to the fund's view, do you have some kind of a suggestion of the maybe principles here for China to do that?
You know, it's a very interesting subject, and we have a lot of experience with it, and we've studied it. And I'd say there isn't a single institutional structure that is clearly the best. There are countries that have one institution with all of the functions, central banking and regulatory, both banking and securities regulatory functions. There are others where they're separated and coordinated. I don't think that there's any one right structure, and in fact I don't think that thinking about the institutional structure is the most important thing. What's really important is that there's coordination across the different regulators.
In terms of the SDR issue and in terms of the exchange rate issue, actually China did some intervention to the currency, the level.
Yeah.
And according to the fund's view, it is a necessity to do that because we have CNH and CNY. There's some difficult issue there.
Well, the first and most important thing is that there's a regime that the markets understand that delivers stability and makes sure that the renminbi is consistent with the fundamentals of the economy. And intervention, the central bank has over past 6-8 months has intervened when there have been downward pressures, and it publishes its intervention numbers, so now the markets know what its activity is. The particular event that you're referring to is that with the one country, two systems, there are capital account restrictions here onshore in the mainland China, and not so in Hong Kong. And so it's possible that the onshore and offshore rates can differ, and the authorities have chosen, when spreads have emerged, they've chosen to take actions to keep those rates very close to one another as a way of managing the two systems within the one country.